Hey everybody, it's me, Brother Wild Bill. I'm coming to you from inside the most dangerous prison in the Western Hemisphere, which is located in Central America in the Republic of Panama. I was a hitman, a cartel hitman from 2006 until 2010. I'm an American. I'm serving a 46-year sentence for quintuple homicide when I was arrested in 2010. I've been in prison for 13 years. This ain't no cosplay, boys and girls. Pull the description box down. There's a Wikipedia link there if you want to read more about me. We're talking today about our final episode about the rise and fall of General Manuel Antonio Noriega, the dictator during the 1980s of the Republic of Panama. This is the last episode. If you want to stop now and go back and listen to the other four, or listen to this one and go back and listen to the other four, or maybe you've been paying attention the whole time and listening, all 5 episodes are out today. This is a May Day special, first day of May. All 5 episodes are out and dropped right now. I'm in a unique position to talk about General Manuel Antonio Noriega, the dictator of Panama, because he's a good friend of mine, or was a good friend of mine, and he was my Uncle Tony. And I want to tell some stories about Noriega being in prison. When we last left off, Noriega had been arrested. He was 56 years old. The United States has invaded, arrested Noriega, taken him out of the Vatican embassy where he had been hidden, when he had been hiding in the Vatican embassy, asking for asylum from France. The gringos, the Americans, have come and carted him off to the United States and tossed him with a 40-year sentence, then reduced it to a 20-year sentence. So he did 20 years in prison in the United States. Then he did 4 years in France, and then after he got out of there, he tried to just be cool in France, chill in France, but they said no. They sent him back to Panama to serve time for things that the Panamanians wanted to prosecute him for. Now, one of the things that happened is when he finished his time in France, he did time in the United States for international drug trafficking and time in France for money laundering. Noriega was a powerful guy, and the Panamanian government that was in at that time, and when he came back in 2013, was 2014, excuse me, was headed by a guy named Juan Carlos Varela, who was a real. If you're a prisoner, this guy's a real cocksucker. He's really terrible on prisoners, and not only that, he was the wrong political party if you're a Noriega fan, because he was from the family. His last name's Varela. He is one of the the Varela family is one of the 10 families that control the Republic of Panama, and they hated Torrijos and they hated Noriega. So he was the wrong guy to be in control when Noriega came back. Panama has a rule. The Panamanian law says that if you're 70 years or older, you can serve your sentence at home. You can have house arrest and serve your sentence at home. And they wouldn't let Noriega out. They wouldn't let him do that. And they wouldn't let him go to trial. He wanted to go to trial and just say, I'm guilty. It doesn't matter. Give me 100 years. Just let me go home and finish my time at home. But Varela was afraid of Noriega and wanted to punish him too, and left him in prison. Wouldn't let him go to trial. They wouldn't take him to trial. If he had went to trial and got sentenced, then he could go home. But they held him in perpetual sentence. Juan Carlos Varela is a terrible man, and he did terrible things to all the prisoners of the Republic of Panama. Not just, he created Sector C, where I am, which is a soft torture facility, but that's a story for another time that has been told and will be told again, I assure you. Anyway, Uncle Tony was now in his 80s, 79, 80 years old when he arrived to Panama. And this is what happened. Panama has that law that at 70 years old, you go home and do your time at home. And I got a visit from a guy named Rogelio Cruz. He's a lawyer, one of the most famous lawyers in the history of Panama, Rogelio Cruz. And Rogelio Cruz come to visit me in David, the David Public Prison where I ran the show. I was the inmate representative there and had a really good life set up back in those days. And so he comes to me in 2013. He says, hey, Bill, would you like to talk to General Noriega? General Manuel Antonio Noriega wants to talk to you. And I said, curiosity, right? Fucking hell, I want to talk to him. So he gives me his phone number in prison, and so I call him in prison. He's in El Renacer, which is like the foo-foo prison in Panama, right? It's like the real, like country club, golf course prison, for Panama. So I called him up, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And I didn't know what to expect. And this voice comes back to me with just the very slightest Latin accent. He speaks perfect English. He did 17 years in the United States, right? And he was a very educated guy. So he speaks English, talks to me, and tells me to call him from now on. I'm his new Uncle Tony. He calls me. And so Uncle Tony, the relationship with Wild Bill and Uncle Tony was born. Tony asked me if I would because I was so popular at the time, I was like in all the newspapers, on all the television screens. If I would mention that it's wrong that Noriega would have to do time, you can actually go back and look this up. You should look up Wild Bill and Noriega in Panama. You can actually look at this campaign that I ran to help Noriega. You know, I'm sure there are millions of news articles about it, to get Noriega out of prison and get him home where he should be. He was an old guy, man. I mean, he's a Panamanian hero, you know. So anyway. So I did that, and Juan Carlos Varela just clamped down on me, clamped down on Noriega. No way, not going to happen. So, shit. Not too good. So Noriega stays in prison, and Noriega started doing some TV interviews in early 2017, asking forgiveness from the Panamanian people, blah, 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 reformed, etc. Nothing. They wouldn't let the poor bastard go home. Uncle Tony was supposed, according to Juan Carlos Varela, the president, Tony had to die in prison. Cocksucker that he is. I'm not talking about Tony's not a cocksucker, but Varela. So what happened? This is what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened, and then I'm going to tell you what I think happened. And I can't confirm what I think, but I'm going to tell you. In the month of May in 2017, it was announced that Noriega had a brain tumor, and they were going to operate on him. They operated on him supposedly in this really nice foo-foo hospital with really nice foo-foo doctors that were flown in from outside. No, and then they did press conferences every day. Noriega went into a coma and died. What I think happened is that Noriega's probably living somewhere the hell else, because they never produced a body. They immediately cremated the body. Everybody wanted to see the body. They never produced a body, never produced anything. I think that Noriega, and I'll tell you why. 2 days before his operation was the last time I talked to Tony. I called Tony. I said, shit, man, are you okay? He's like, yeah, fuck, I'm great. Don't worry about it. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, it's a routine procedure. Nothing. I mean, I said, you in pain? None at all. I'm good. Fit as a fiddle. I'm going to make 100, he told me. It's like, shit, okay. Well, good, you know, good. So, I mean, but they're talking about emergency surgery on TV. Don't believe everything you see, son. So, this is Uncle Tony, head of the secret police. Uncle Tony, he who could flex his muscles and kill anybody in Panama he wanted to. Uncle Tony, who everybody's scared of even today. Uncle Tony didn't die on that operating table. I ain't believing that shit. Uncle Tony's, lived out the rest of his days. This happened in 2017. I think it's probable that Tony's dead now. He was 83 then. That would make him, I don't know, what's that, 6 years later, make him 89 or 90 years old now, but I bet he is living or died happily in some state in France somewhere or something, you know. I think that I think that the PRD smuggled Tony out of Panama. That's what I think. And that's what I want to believe, at least anyway, and that's what I hope. Because I remember when I talked to him last, he said, no, don't believe everything you see on TV, son. I said, okay, Uncle Tony, I'll catch you on the other side. Call me when you get out. I said, cool. And then I never heard from him again. And I hope Almighty, I ask you to bless Manuel Antonio Noriega, my dear friend. I hope he's still alive, and I hope he listens to this podcast, laughing his ass off and listening to Bill tell his story. Like, shut the fuck up, Bill, don't tell my secrets, you know, or whatever. But anyway, God bless him. I hope he's doing well. And thus ends the complete and rise and fall of General Manuel Antonio Noriega. I hope you've enjoyed this series. I don't think there's another person on earth that's more qualified to tell this story than me, having been around it, living in it, and been a party and been a dear friend of the featured guest, you know, the featured person, Manuel Antonio Noriega. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the story. Pull the description box down. You can contact me directly. Next week, there'll be another few episodes drop on Monday. We'll see what we're going to do at that time. I don't have anything planned yet for next week, but I'm sure that we'll feature something next week as well. So you guys pull the description box down. Check out the Facebook, Instagram links. You can contact me directly there. This ain't no cosplay, boys and girls. I'm really in the clink. And you can pull my Wikipedia down and read more about that as well. That's also the Wikipedia link is also in the description box. Go and buy a copy of my book, Long Live the King Wild Bill. I make $4 every time you buy one. Buy a copy. It's available on Amazon. It's about my first year in prison and the adjustments I had to make dealing with the monkeys of Panama justice and the monkeys of the Panamanian prison authorities. God bless each and every one of you. I love you. I love each and every one of you. Jesus Christ loves you, and I love you too. I'm Brother Wild Bill.